There is a moment when everything looks completely normal, but in reality, the system has already begun to collapse. No explosion, no warning, just water, slowly rising, slow, then faster, until no one has time to understand what is happening. And then, within minutes, a reservoir loses control. A massive surge of water rushes into a residential area, and the most terrifying part is, no one thought it would happen, until everything had already begun. You might think this is just another flood, but if you do, you will miss the most important part, because this is not a story about water. This is a story about limits, the limit of a city, the limit of a system, and perhaps the limit of the way we are living. This is natural destruction, and when I look at Jakarta, I don't just see a disaster. I see a very difficult question. Are we living in cities that we no longer truly control? On the night of March 21st, rain began to fall over Jakarta. Nothing unusual, life went on as usual. People went to work, returned home, and assumed tomorrow would be just like today. But there was one thing no one noticed. The water didn't disappear. It accumulated, little by little, in drains, in canals, in reservoirs. Everything still seemed under control. And sometimes, that feeling of everything is fine, is exactly what makes it dangerous. The next morning, the water began to rise. At first, very slowly. Just larger puddles than usual. But if you stood there a little longer, you would notice something different. It was accelerating. In Cilangkap, East Jakarta, the water rose faster. 46 neighborhoods were affected. Water levels reached nearly 1 meter. Nearly 700 people had to evacuate. But what stayed with me the most was not the numbers. It was a question. In that moment, how many people truly understood what was happening? The pressure focused on a single point, a reservoir, a place built to protect people. But when it could no longer hold, it became the source of danger. That moment happened very quickly. No countdown, no clear warning, just a sudden release of water. Within minutes, the streets turned into flowing currents. Vehicles disappeared beneath the water. People began to run, not because they understood the situation, but because instinct told them, leave now. And this is what I cannot forget. Disasters do not always give you time to understand. Sometimes, you only have time to react. If you are living in an Asian city, this is not just a video. This is something you should think about. Follow natural destruction to better understand what is coming. Looking at this event, I realized something very clearly. We often think disasters happen somewhere else, far away, not connected to us. But in reality, they begin with familiar things. A rainstorm, a flooded street, a system we believe will work. But the danger is, all of those things can fail at the same time. Jakarta is just a clear example. But if you live in Asia, you have probably seen similar signs. A street flooding after rain, a drainage system that can't keep up, a low-lying area that floods first. The question is, are we underestimating those signs? Bangkok has been submerged by floods. Ho Chi Minh City is flooding more frequently every year. Manila faces constant storms. These cities are different, but the problem is the same. We are building places where water has nowhere to go. These cities are different, but the problem is the same. We are building places where water has nowhere to go. And when water has nowhere to go, it finds its own path. The frightening part is not each step on its own, but how fast they connect together. I believe the biggest lesson is not technical, it is about awareness. We need to see urban flooding differently, no longer as minor flooding, but as a form of disaster that can happen very quickly. We need to pay attention to small signs, because they are often the earliest warnings. And most importantly, we need to understand this. No one can rely entirely on the system. Sometimes, the decision you make within minutes is the only thing that can protect you.
Sorry guys. Mantap.
Waduh, Palura ini mah keterlaluan ini.
Buang. Sampah buang. Ini dalam banget ini. Awas dulu.
Ini mah tingginya bener-bener nih.
Urgent beneran ini anak sekolah ini nggak bisa tenggelam ini. Kelas 1, kelas 2.
Beda sama kemarin.
Sekali ini.
Ini jauh banget nih.
Jadi segera, Pak, turunan Pak. Pihak kelurahan, BPD dan yang lain tolonglah bantuannya lah supaya cepat-cepat turun.
Disaster is not only a test of systems, it is a test of people. What matters is not just how high the water rises, but how we treat each other when everything falls apart. A city is not only built with concrete, it is built on trust. Do you believe that when you are in danger, someone will help you? And are you willing to do the same for others? When disaster happens, no one can control everything alone, but a community that knows how to support one another can change the outcome. That may be the most important lesson. Not just building better infrastructure, but building better people. We cannot control the rain. We cannot stop the water from rising, but we can control how we respond. Prepare, or ignore. Pay attention, or overlook. Help, or turn away. And sometimes the difference between survival and disaster is not how high the water rises, but how many people are willing to stand together. Jakarta is a warning, but it is also a reminder. In a world that is becoming more unpredictable, the most powerful thing we have is not the system, it is people. And when the question, "Are you ready?" is asked, the answer is not just how fast you can run, it is, will you stand alone, or stand together?
Bantu. Dibantu dulu. Awas ya. Awas.
Terus balik aja lah.
Tanah dulu.
Jakarta is not just an event, it is a warning, not for one city, but for all of us. And perhaps the most important question is not, will this happen? But when it happens, will you be ready? Not for one city, but for all of us. And perhaps the most important question is not, will this happen? But when it happens, will you be ready? Disasters don't begin with chaos. They begin with very small signs, until one day, everything crosses the limit.